It was discovered in 1989. In the beginning of the 18th century, Pablo Cain wrote the first Tagalog dictionary. In 1879, Tagalog became the official language of the Philippine Islands. Some of the many countries where this language is spoken include Canada, Guam, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, United Kingdom, and United States. In 1935, Spanish was established as the national language. The Filipino languages have been influenced by many other language groups throughout their history, as well as being influenced by each other. In addition, various occupations of the region by different nations has brought the Filipino languages into direct contact with many other languages which have also had their influence. Linguistic evidence connects Tagalog with Bahasa Indonesia as having common roots, so the main root of the modern Filipino languages probably came with these people. The people of the Philippines were not united under one government, but were under many smaller governments, and they had many different languages and many different dialects of each language. In the 16th century, Spain claimed the Philippines for its own. Many friars and priests were sent by the crown to teach Christianity to the native people. At first, the friars were encouraged to learn the local dialects in order to teach the people in their own languages. This they did, gaining a strong influence over the Filipino people. In time, the crown determined that instruction in religion should be conducted in Spanish or Castilian, as it was called. However, by that time, the priests already enjoyed a great deal of power on the priests for all of their religious instruction and basically any education and for understanding of any laws or ordinances that came from Spain. When the Filipinos insisted on having equal rights with the rest of the Spanish people and were not given them, they rebelled against the Spanish government and set up their own republic. However, Rizal, an important Filipino hero at the time who had been killed because of his involvement with the revolution, had brought a lot of attention to Tagalog by writing many papers in Tagalog. The period of Spanish rule brought many borrowed words into the Tagalog language from Spanish. Some of these included the adoption of the Spanish number system in many settings. The new Republic of the Philippines did not last long until American occupation began. The Americans began English as the official language of the Philippines. English began to be taught in the schools to all. For a time, Spanish was still used in many areas, but in time more and more of the people learned English. During World War II, Japan occupied the Philippines for 3 years. Bautista. At this time, English was still the official language of the Philippines. Back and forth in America and in the Philippines as to whether the official language of the country should be English or one of the other native languages. Tagalog became the official language of the Philippines, this change having been decided about 10 years later and having begun already to be implemented in the educational system. Even though English is no longer the official language of the Philippines, it continues to be taught today along with Tagalog in the public schools. The languages of the Philippines continue to borrow words from one another. Since the languages come from a common root anyway, it is often hard to distinguish which words are simply descended from the same roots and which have been borrowed later from Filipino language.
Didn't even ask me what I wanted, you made dumb assumptions.